Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to Dragon Quest VII. When we last left off, we made it to Ballymolly. And, well, the folks in Ballymolly seem to be having a bit of an issue with some monsters. And I would like to point out that I could have probably gotten here in half the time that it actually took me, but if I did so, I would have missed out on a lot of the conversation with the NPCs on Estard. And really, I don't want to do that because I feel that a good portion of the flavor of Dragon Quest games comes from the NPC dialogue. It's something that really shines through when you play these games. Sometimes the NPCs in these games just have such weird things to say that, like, just missing out on the conversations is really to the detriment of the game. Because let's be honest, though, Dragon Quest as a series is not the most technically impressive when it comes to the gameplay. I think the gameplay's fine, it's pretty basic, but it's never going to win any awards for, like, innovative gameplay. It's always pretty basic. So, you know, you gotta explore the world, talk to the NPCs, and kind of look around and see what there is to see to, I think, get the most out of these games. So I'm going to do so. But right off the bat, this game, I guess it's really just the reason it is like this is because you're going to go into a lot of isolated incidents where bad things are happening. But this story right here kind of indicates the tone for a lot of these episodes. Talking about what happened to Molly. And I feel like this is one of the more, like, overall, one of the darkest Dragon Quest games. And Dragon Quest as a series always surprises me at how dark it can get, and it really shouldn't. Because it's like a surprise that I've had over and over and over and over again. I think that I would have caught on by now, but it still always surprises me. You know? I feel like this is one of the worst. This one is... I don't know if it's worse than 5, but it's up there. Of course, it's kind of hard to compete with, like, Trauma Conga Line the game when it comes to, like, outsadding somebody. If you've never played Dragon Quest V, it starts off as this lighthearted, you're a child, and then, like, you go on, like, fantastical children's adventures. You defeat ghosts in a haunted house, and then you save the fairy kingdom from the Ice Queen, or whatever, you know. And then stuff gets really, really sad. But yes, we did meet Maeve. And then every time the main character in 5, like, claws his way out of this pit of despair, somebody's at the top of the hole, and they just push him right back in again. And he just keeps climbing. And that's actually one of the most endearing things about the game, is that you have this main character who's a silent protagonist, but you get kind of the sense from the people that are around. And that's why I think party talk is so important. And it was such a criminal thing that they cut it out of the English version, well, the American version of Dragon Quest IV. You get this sense that, like, you know, he's going to get his happy ending. But this game right here, you know, this is basically the first area of the game. And right off the bat, they go for the gut punch. when it comes to uh, it comes to like getting in the story and stuff like that. But don't worry, young man, we will go and get one of these green gems for you. Although I would be very dubious of any doctor that told me that I needed a rock to get better. I mean, that's... I'm not I don't actually know what that's called in, like, the real world, like, where you think, like, rocks have healing powers. That's bullcrap, by the way. Rocks do not have healing powers. Rocks are rocks. Rocks have metallurgical properties. They do not have the ability to cure cancer. Neither does essential oils. But we're going to go help Patrick out and get him one of them there green gems from the bottom of the mine to the southeast of here. So, I'm going to go ahead and pass out my medicinal herbs. I want to give Kiefer 1, and I want to give Maribel 3, and keep 1 for... Oster? Oster's going to learn the heal spell, but I do want him to have the ability to heal if I end up in a bad way until he learns the heal spell. Unfortunately, the game does not like backfill your MP when you level up, so right now everybody's got 0 MP. You can see over there on the bottom screen. So when I actually do learn spells, everybody's still going to have 0 MP. They're not going to get their MP for the level. So... we're just want to run right over here. Generally speaking, I avoid all of the random encounters on the world map. A lot of the times, because when you're in dungeons like this, it's really... okay, so look how wide this is. And the monsters, they spawn in the middle of the road, just like this. So... it's almost impossible to get around monsters in narrow corridors like this. I talked a bit about this before. And even though the enemies in this game are, in theory, you can dodge them, in practice you can't a lot of the times. Particularly in the dungeons. You can avoid them in the world map pretty easily. And... in all actuality, there's only a few places that they can spawn that it makes it impossible to dodge them. For example, like if they were to pop up right as you were trying to walk into like an entrance to a town or something like that, you might get into a random battle that way. But when you're on the open like world, like running from place to place, it's almost impossible to get trapped and forced into a random encounter. Yes, please, Maeve, join our party and one-shot the monsters for us. Unfortunately, she will not join our party. Yes, we'll just handle this gem hunt here. But, like, the relative size of the characters and the locations of the monsters mean that it is very, very difficult to actually avoid battles in dungeons. And I would say that overall, even though you can get into... I would say that overall you end up actually fighting more battles, barring running around in circles and grinding, in this version of the game than you do in the original version of the game. So this is the Nightcrawler and the Woebegone. There's not really anything interesting about them at all. All they can do is attack. Every enemy in this first area of the game can drop healing herbs. So the only interesting thing about this guy right here is he actually cannot move. There's a few enemies in the game that are rooted in place and they kind of just sit there. More often than not, they are very large, sprited enemies, and they just serve as kind of a barrier. These are lips. They are the only enemy down here with a special, like, property. They have the ability to lick you. Oh, I forgot the Woebegons can dance. Interesting. I actually very rarely fight the Woebegons. I do like that they have they do the boogie animations for the dancing and stuff. There's several moves that have that effect, and a lot of the time they're not animated like that. So that is very interesting that you got to see that, because that's actually probably the rarest stun effect in the game. And there's nothing over there, and nothing over there. So the Woebegons can dance, and then the lips can lick you. But the Nightcrawlers and the Slimes can't really do anything special. There is one more enemy that appears in here that is it's of note, but not of note because it has a special ability. It's of note because it hits so hard. And as far as I know, they can only appear on the bottom floor. I don't think I've seen them anywhere else. But yeah, this right here is the gimmick of this. You push the light-colored gems together and they shatter. Match colors. So we just want to run around. Oops. I didn't mean to run into that guy, but whatever. It's fine. Woebegons, eggplant monsters. It's pretty funny. So, you might be wondering why. Okay, so Kiefer has more natural attack power than Oster does. And you might be wondering why I actually gave Oster the sword instead of Kiefer. The reason I did that is because I think it's better to have two characters with... So, okay, so look at the attributes. Oster has 9 strength. Kiefer has 13. So that puts them to similar levels of attack power. Kiefer, when the next time he gets a level, he's basically going to do 1 more damage because of the way the damage calculations swing out in these versions of the games. But so Oster will hit for 7 or 8 points of damage, while Kiefer will hit for like 5 to 6. And it's better to spread the damage out, I think, because the monsters have such little HP that Kiefer can most often actually just one-shot the monsters anyway. So it's better to have 2 people that can one-shot the monsters or get pretty close to one-shotting the monsters than it is to have one person have just one-shot all the monsters and then have everybody else kind of struggle. So we want to push this up here, this over here. I know I'm going through this pretty quick, but these are not very particularly mind-bending puzzles. And it's pretty easy to figure out what you have to do. So this floor right here is the last floor, and there's an enemy down here that you need to watch out for called the Tung Fu Fighter. And the Tung Fu Fighter, they hit very, very hard. So they'll hit anywhere from like 7 to 10 points of damage. And kind of avoid that. And there's a Tung Fu fighter right there. So, since I'm going to get into a fight with one, I want to actually heal up. So the Tung Fu fighters will... Ooh, okay, I got a sneak attack. So we're going to actually take out the Tung Fu fighter. The Tung Fu fighters will basically hit you, or they'll waste their turn. But they hit very, very hard for this point in the game. So I got pretty lucky there. Let's see. Maribel might be able to... Yes. Kiefer and Maribel basically equal Oster. So that's kind of the reasoning I had for giving Oster the bronze sword, or copper sword, or whatever it is. I think it's copper. But we now know the heal spell, and I think... Hold on. Okay, she doesn't know it yet. She might learn a... I think Maribel learns a spell at 3 as well. She learns the Frizz spell. Unfortunately, the game does not like backfill your MP. So, even though I know the heal spell, I can't use it because I have 0 MP. Which is why I distributed everybody a healing herb. She concentrates extremely hard. I'm actually a really big fan of the female... So, if you've never played Dragon Quest III, or Dragon Warrior 3 or whatever, Maeve is actually using the female... What do they call it in that game? Warrior? Fighter? No, Fighter is the martial artist. So it had to be Warrior, or maybe Soldier. I think they call it Soldier in Dragon Warrior. But that's basically, her armor is that style. They reuse the models a lot for that. And I really wish you could examine this and get a free heal, because I would really like to have some MP. But sadly, you cannot do such a thing. There's another Tung Fu fighter. Maybe we'll actually... Ooh. Okay. Oh, that's fine. So yeah, they hit for like 7 points of damage. That's a lot for this point in the game. And Maribel is being useless. Probably going to have Maribel defend. Have her defend now. If I do recall, the Tung Fu fighters can also... what they'll do is they'll... In addition to the licking and the hitting for a lot of damage, they'll also waste their turn to like see what's going on. But they give the most experience down here, and she learns Frizz now. That's very good. The Frizz spell does 10 to 15 points of Frizz damage. By the way, you don't have to do any of these puzzles again. All of that's been kind of cleared up. Okay, go up the stairs. Thank you. And of course, there are no monsters in these rooms where there were puzzles previously.